In this video, we are going to understand a very interesting part, and that is a data type in the Python, the variable in the Python, and keywords in the Python. Now, what is the meaning of variable? So you want to hold some value, and to hold that value, we need a container, and that container is basically called as a variable. You take a simple example, container as uh, glass. So in the glass, you can take either water, you can take milk, or you can take a juice. So that glass can hold any liquid you want. So the glass is basically called as a variable. Here also we are holding some value like integer or float or a string. So to hold this value, we need a term called as a variable. So variable basically hold a value. Okay, great. So it is a reserve part of a memory which basically stores some value. Great. So once the variable has been defined, uh, it is always on the left hand side of the is equal to. Is equal to. Okay. So now the a is basically called as a variable over here. B is also called as a variable over here. X is also called as a variable over here, which holds some value. Now coming to the data type. In Python, we have a very special pattern, and that is we don't need to define or tell the Python that we are going to use this kind of a data type. That is a special part of a Python. So Python automatically understand that which data type it is, and it can able to work on that. Like we take a simple example. Here I have put a equal to 4. So you take 4,000, 40,000. Everything is considered to be as integer. Okay, so a equal to 4. Now let's check how a will look like. So a equal to 4, you can see. And when I check a type of a, it is going to say it is an integer. I have not told that I'm going to store integer inside the a variable. Still, the Python has understood that okay, this is a integer. Okay, great. Now coming to the float. Now b equal to 5.6. Okay, and when I do a print b, it is 5.6. And what is the type of b? It is going to say float. Okay, 5.37.3, 10,000.5. Any value you take in a fraction is basically called as a float data type in a Python. Great. So now let's try to understand what is the meaning of string. So x equal to m. You can see the single quote I have used for that. Okay. Let's check the type of x. The type of x is going to say str. That is a string. Suppose if you take a single quote and inside that, suppose somebody has written 1, 2, 3. Okay. And let's check the value of x. You can see the single quote answer is coming. And this is a string data type. So whenever you write something inside a quote, single quote or a double quote, that is considered to be as a string in the Python. Here we are MHM, okay, and when I check a type of that, it is going to say str. Okay, so we have to be very careful while defining the string, float, and integer. Suppose you are taking some value from user, and that has to be in term of integer. Okay, so in that time, if the value entered by the user is some other data type, you have to be careful. So we're going to understand how to do that process. Okay, great. So now we can convert from one data type to other data type also. That is also possible, very easy. Like x is basically over here is integer. So if I want to do a comment, I can put a hash mark and I can do a comment. Okay. So when I check type of a, it is says okay, integer. Now whenever I write a float before the x, okay, it is going to convert that integer into float. And similarly, this integer again converted into string. Very easy. Python is an interactive language. So when you give a write command, it is going to give you a right answer. Great. So now we have the next data type called as a boolean. So true is basically considered as logic 1 and the false is basically considered as logic 0 in Python. So when you write true, I want you to see the T is capital inside that. So whenever you write true, it is going to say, okay, true. And false, it is going to say false. Great. So now we are very much clear that how the Boolean data type works. Python also support the complex data type. In the complex, we have the real value, we have the imaginary value. So Python do support that also. And here we go. Okay, what is the data type of that? Complex. We have not told Python that this is a complex value which we are going to give an input to you, but Python understand that. That is a great part of the this programming language. Okay, now what is the meaning of keywords? So there's some English like keywords, English like words like we can say as, are, or is. These keywords are basically reserved word in the Python for. So we have to be careful using this keyword as a variable. So when you use this keyword as a variable, it is going to give you error. Okay. So keywords cannot be used as a variable name, function name, and other identifier. Okay. So we have to find out which are the different keywords. Suppose if I'm using as a for, so it is going to say it is not allowed because as is basically a keyword. Let's take one more keyword, none, none. So none is a keyword understood by Python. It is not going to take it as a variable. Okay, so we have to be careful while doing that. Okay, we can take one more keyword like for. For is also one of the keyword. So keyword cannot be taken as a variable. Is equal to left hand side is basically called as a variable. Okay, great. So now how to find out whether it is a keyword or not? Okay, we can do that way, simple way. So there is a module called keyword module. This is basically called the inbuilt module in Python. So we need to call that, and to call that we write a word import. So in Python programming language, you want to use some library or module, you need to use the word called import. So import keyword. Great. So import keyword, just look at this. Now we are going to write down keyword. Keyword means this module. Okay. And I'm using a command like is keyword. So inside keyword, I'm checking is keyword none. Whether the none is a keyword that I'm checking. If it is say true, yes, we cannot use the none as we cannot use a none as variable. Great. So now small none, let's check. It is a keyword. The answer is no. That means small none can be used as keyword. Yes. So now the data types are very clear. Just a quick recap. We have 5 data types. The first data type is called integer. The second data type is called float. The third data type is called string. The fourth data type is basically called as a boolean. The fifth data type is basically called as a complex. Now what is the meaning of a variable? So when you want to hold some value like a complex or a boolean string, so we need some we need some reserve memory locations, and that is basically called as a variable. So variable is always on the left side of is equal to. Great. Now, what is the meaning of keyword? There are some English-like words which Python understand, like none, is, not, for, while. This cannot be used as basically the variable names. So we need to make sure that we should not use these keywords as a variable name. You can check that whether it is a variable name or not using this simple syntax. So we have a module called as a keyword module, and inside that we have a command is keyword. Just put your name of the variable over there, and if it say false, you can use that, and if it say true, you cannot use that.